We're good. Yes.
I think it's very unfair, Bree, that you have us doing a live stream and now people know what I really sound like before the post-production. That's just not fair.
Oh no.
No, not at all.
Yo, 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 it's your boy Sip coming at you live. Before we get into this podcast, we're going to want you to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon. Leave us 10 comments. I don't know what else. I'd just
That's
be
not
the
a real
worst
thing.
YouTuber.
There's no bell. It's not even YouTube. I think you just got us demonetized for mentioning the Y. The Y word.
Gonna reinvent myself as a cute girl with a little dog, and I'll be a YouTube star. Yip, yip, yip. Here's my dog.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Massively OP Podcast, episode 300. It's a big one for us. It's a big mile marker here on the long journey.
Honestly, because it's not really 300. It's like
No,
634 or something. It's some crazy number.
For the reboot.
Yes, for the reboot, it's 300. Like,
With the
those
same
numbers are too high
cast.
for us. We're video game bloggers. We can't count that high.
Right. Yeah, we're going to restart all over again. So next week it'll be episode 1.
Oh, no.
And we'll gaslight you.
Do we have to change the name of the podcast?
300 last 300 episodes didn't even happen. Bree will erase all of them from our database. It'll be great. So yeah, this is it. So we're doing it live, and as such, that means I can get away with saying these 7 words that I couldn't on recorded streams, and Bree can't stop me. Balderdash, Dagnabbit, Suffering Succotash, Phooey, Cowabunga, Fopdoodle, and Barbara Streisand. You can't stop me from saying those things, Bree.
I mean, I can. I could just, delete this.
Oh.
But you're right. They heard
But
you,
now
so
people have heard.
Live, so,
it's out there.
I hope you guys brought a swear jar and a bleeper because you're going to need it.
Infecting your ears.
It is not. Joel asked if it's live gameplay. It's not, because here's the thing. When I stream while talking, every time I end up either jumping up and down because I'm trying to think and talk at the same time and I can't do it, or I end up running in circles. Like I'm doing what are they called? Donuts, like in the parking lot. It's the equivalent of that in a video game, and everybody yells at me. So I'm just not going to do that. So I took a bunch of footage from a bunch of games I was playing last week and just so you would at least have something to look at while we blah 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 here. And unfortunately, I had to edit this at the last minute because I had a ton of City of Heroes footage in here, and this morning I was like, oh yeah, we can't put City of Heroes
She was
footage
swearing
on
at me up and down in chat.
I was so mad at myself.
Why the F did I do this?
I went for a week and it didn't dawn on me that I could probably get banned and I could get Homecoming in trouble. So I had to take all that out at the last minute. So unfortunately, no COH, even though we're going to talk about it today.
Back, and now she's bringing it down. That's what we call full arc right there. Yeah, that's like when I'm driving the car and I get into a really deep conversation with my wife, and then she's like, "Where are we?" I'm like, "I don't know." Why is everything in both English and French? Are we in Canada? How is that possible?
You're in Buffalo. It is possible.
Well, no, it's not, because the bridge has been shut down for months now.
Really? Oh, I guess, of course. Never mind. I forgot what year it was.
Canada doesn't want our sniffly, sneezy colds. No.
Yeah.
Well, we're back. We'd like to say that this was a calm, normal week, but this was anything but. We'll get into that in just a minute. But before that, let's talk about our adventures in MMOs. So you can't stream City Heroes, but did you play it?
I did. I actually got some time in. Yay. I'm excited. So let's see. Last couple of weeks I've been playing, you know how I do this. I have a spreadsheet. I go through my spreadsheet and then I play the ones that I haven't played in a while to maximize the rest of X, because I'm weird like that. So I ended up playing my Planthorn Dom, my Katana Dark Scrapper. I have a Claw Scrapper. I played her too. She was one of the ones I recorded, and I ended up not getting to use it, unfortunately. You guys could have seen me sucking at being a Scrapper, but I really like her, so I play her anyway. And then I had a couple of what are they called? Sentinels. I have a dual pistol super reflexes sentinel that I had kind of scrapped. And then I read in the forums they're actually really good. And I was like, okay, maybe I just was doing it wrong or had her spec wrong. I don't know. So I pulled her back out. Fortunately, I hadn't deleted her. I had just kind of mothballed her. I pulled her back out, respec'd her, all of her IOs. And now I kind of like her. So it actually made me roll another sentinel. So now I have a beam, what are they called? Beam rifles. And then the new bio set, which I'm pretty sure is one of the ones. Is that one of the ones that just got buffed? I think it is. So I rolled her, and I kind of like it so far, but we'll see. Sentinels are, by the way, a new archetype that Homecoming added specifically. So, or I guess it was actually probably part of the original, like Leo's original build. I don't know, but anyway, Homecoming does have it. I'm not sure if other servers ported it over, probably, but it's kind of a combination where you get like blaster primaries, corruptor primaries, but they're combined with scrapper secondaries, so you get like an armor set. And you don't do as much damage, obviously, as a blaster, and you don't get as much protection as like the tanker primaries or the scrapper secondaries. But they kind of works. You're kind of playing a ranged with some armor. It seems like it would be a really good solo kind of thing. And I haven't put a lot of time into them, so that's been kind of fun to mess around with that. Something new, a new archetype, right? Because I mean, that's like one of the things I want to see, like going forward with Homecoming and with the other servers too. I want to see way more new stuff. I know they've added some new things. They've done a lot of proliferation of sets, like where they've moved them back and forth between archetypes and made sure everybody can play them. They've got the electricity stuff. Some of that is new. What do they call it? Electrical affinity, that stuff. It's new, but I want more, and I want to see more archetypes. I know they can do cool combinations.
Sound like my kids. Never satisfied. Never happy. More.
Well, this is one of those games where like more is the point. Not all MMOs are like this. A lot of MMOs are really just, you play your one character and maybe you've got an alt or two. This game is like, I have 25 alts and those are just the ones I care about. That doesn't even count the other 50 that I don't play that much. You know what I mean? Like alting is like half the point, so trying new power sets is like part of the fun.
Awesome.
They think you're in an underground bunker, by the way.
I'm in an underground bunker. Why?
I don't know.
My voice?
That's what Tanik said.
That'd be cool, but no, I'm looking out at my backyard here, so no. Not underground bunker. Sometimes I don't know how long Bree's going to go on for, so I start playing a little mobile game on my phone.
I'm sorry, I was waxing poetic about how much I like this dead video game from like.
I'm not complaining. This is what we do.
All right, what did you do this weekend that was fun and MMOzy and iconic?
And MMOzy. Well, two things. I've been doggedly, slowly, like the slowest puppy ever, getting through World of Warcraft Shadowlands leveling content. I actually did ding 60. Only like 2 full weeks after the first person did, so I feel like I'm really on par there. However, I dinged 60 like in the third of 4 zones that they just put aside for leveling, so I still have to like finish all the zones. I can't just immediately skip go and go straight to the end game stuff, which is fine. I don't really want to do that either. But at the same time, it just kind of we could probably have a conversation about World of Warcraft needs to figure out what to do, why it has leveling. I think leveling has a purpose, has a point, has a place, but WoW has made it all but irrelevant, and I don't like all of this. Just really feels like it's a very drawn out prologue to the actual meat and potatoes of what they've been setting up. But for the zones themselves, a lot of fun. It's been really interesting watching the reactions for different people, because you have 4 very different zones that they've made no attempt whatsoever to kind of put in the same like continent and have some sort of continuity between. No, they're just 4 very different flavors, and everybody seems to have a preference. And it seems like they're spread out, which is a good sign. It means like they're hitting different things. So some people like the ancient Greek Roman style of Bastion. Some people, like myself, I do like Maldraxxus's really hardcore death metal vibe going on. Ardenwald seems that's a go-to. Like everybody, so many people in my guild. Oh, it's so pretty, so pretty. Like, yes, it's another druid zone. We've had so many of these, but now I'm in Revendreth. was not expecting to like this at all. It is instantly my favorite zone.
Okay, wait, which one is this? Because Ardenweald
This
is the
is
one
the
everybody
vampire
likes.
gothic.
Vampires. Okay, gotcha.
Don't even like vampires. This is like they just completely took Bram Stoker's Dracula, and they've got like the poofy, weird Gary Oldman double bulbous hairstyle going on there. But the actual zone like feels like Halloween in the best of ways. It feels like Guild Wars 2's Labyrinth. In a really good, like I love those kind of the feel of those zones. And you're going around and you're riding in these old carriages and you're talking to these like gargoyle dudes that they're like, I don't know how you describe them, like Victorian slave, like lower caste kind of dudes. And I'm just really digging it. Like the whole zone I think is kind of really neat. So going through that, I anticipate hopefully finally getting to the end game sometime later this week, but not in any rush. And, really we've got a couple years till the next expansion. So why rush it right now? The other thing I was doing was actually getting... Originally, let me back up. Originally, I had completely cleaned my slate opened my slate for December and said, Justin, you can just spend this whole month playing Shadowlands. You have my permission. I'm talking to myself. You talk to yourself, Bree. I talk to myself.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then I realized about a week into this, I was not happy with that decision. Not because I was dissatisfied with Shadowlands, but because I really have gotten used to a more varied gaming diet. And at the minimum, I need 2 games to kind of ping pong between. A night feels more satisfying for me to do that, to spend 1 hour in one game, 1 hour in another game, read a book, go to bed. I mean, I'm boring, but that's what I do.
You just can't pin Justin down. He's got to have variety.
Yeah. So I decided I'm going to set a goal, and that's to go back into Star Wars The Old Republic. And darn it, I'm going to finish the Knights of the Eternal Throne expansion, which I have never finished. I'm still, that's where I'm stuck at, all the way back there, several years ago. So you might recall these were the 2 expansions, the Knights expansions that BioWare experimented with, taking their MMO and making it a single player game for some reason again. And going back through this, on one hand, it's like, this is really good storytelling. Like, I'm in the moment of it. The cutscenes are good. The action's good. The objectives, it's flowing. I'm genuinely curious about all the twists and turns. There's some really good choices being made. And that's good. But at the same time, I haven't seen another player since I've logged back on a week ago. I've never been in any common zones whatsoever, and you miss that. So this just wasn't something that they could sustain in the long haul, and I don't understand why they didn't realize that sooner. But I'm going to get through it. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to feel accomplished when that happens, even if I have to play through Christmas morning. Kids, can't open your gifts. Daddy's got to finish this expansion from 5 years ago.
Excellent parenting there, Justin.
Hey, you're the one with the punishment box.
I wish I had a punishment box. We were lamenting the lack of baby gates. Your kids eventually learn how to climb out of the baby cage, and then your life is ruined for 18 years. Yeah. All right, let's check chat because there's a bunch of new people who just came in. Hello, everyone new. Oh my goodness, we're live. Let's see. Anakito says he tried, or she tried, I'm not sure, over 20 MMO games over a week this year.
What?
Every week. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of jumping in.
How did you find that many games? How many games is that? That's over 1,000 games. Y'all are nuts.
For the year? What?
That can't be right. I must be misunderstanding him.
But still, 20, I mean, even if it's over the course of a month, that's a lot of MMOs to jump
Maybe that's
into.
what he meant. That's what it means. 20 MMOs per month. That's still a lot of games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I apologize, by the way. You guys are watching me slop around in my Hunter, whom I haven't played in a really long time, so I'm
running in circles.
I'm clicking the buttons because I can't remember what anything does. This happens to me a lot. When when I cycle around through games and I don't have my muscle memory for that specific tune set up, I end up clicking, and it's bad. Anyway, all right.
Anything else from chat before we go into news?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. All right, well, let's get into news. Actually,
that's
nothing happened.
Panagiatis. Never mind. I see. Hi, Pana. Okay. Sorry. This is weird. I'm not very good live. You guys are just going to have to let us drink our
Never
tea
done this
and
for
chill.
This is us figuring out how to walk all over again. We can't.
No, we're not going to be playing AQ3D today. That's you want MJ. I think she's playing
Yeah.
here. I'll look it up for you. I'm pretty sure she plays that at least once a week.
And thus Bree
I'm not
becomes
sure.
technical support for the
So-
website for the next
no,
5 minutes.
I want them to know when she's doing it next. I see it on the schedule for Friday the 11th at 2 o'clock Eastern. So come back. She's really good at that anyway. You definitely want her. This is a pre-recorded video thingy that I'm just letting you guys watch because I didn't want to make you just look into a black void while we talked. Although maybe that would be more like how it is most of the time, right?
Look into the void. Despair. As you weep tears.
All right, Justin. I know you want to get on to the news because
There was
we had
nothing to talk about. Let's just do mailbag. There's nothing.
Like,
boring-
thank you, Daybreak, because that was so juicy, and it's been so much fun to talk about for like the last 6 days straight.
But Daybreak made a critical error, and the time for our attack is coming. And the critical error was this: they didn't release this last thing Friday, and the business.
Oh, I know,
on Friday.
right? Somebody's gonna have to tell EG7 how this works, okay?
Yes.
Because I
First of
saw
all, this
other
happened at the
companies
beginning of the
burying their
week.
news under Daybreak's news.
Second of all, they actually revealed information and was communicative. What are we talking about here, Bree?
Daybreak finally got bought. And I say finally because we've been like speculating this. And when I say we, the whole MMO community has been speculating since like the middle of 2019 that Daybreak was about to be bought. And then they broke themselves up into all those little mini sub studios and we're like, oh yeah, they're definitely trying to do
With
a
their own
sell-off,
T-shirts.
right?
Remember that? The T-shirts. Yeah.
And so here we are, a Swedish company called Enid Global 7. Enid 7 Global? Enid Global 7. It's EG7. They have picked up Daybreak. They bought it for 300 million buckaroos, which is a lot of money, and they bought all of it. Like, they didn't buy it piecemeal. They bought all of the studios. So when I say all of the studios, I don't just mean the ones you thought Daybreak owned. I mean the ones that now we know Daybreak also owned, and that includes Standing Stone Games.
This was such a big story. In fact, I really was tempted to say, Bree, we got to do an emergency podcast on this.
Almost. That was really close.
But then I figured that we'd have nothing to talk about today.
This week.
Which probably would have been the case. So,
Yep.
And in the meantime, we actually got to dig into the full, all the details, and they just released all these documents and this full investor presentation. So we got to really chew into it. By we, I mean Bree, and the rest of us just
Oh, you
leached
did
off
too.
of her like
Oh
we're
my
more.
goodness. No, you did it too. You have a whole extra piece on like what Lotro fans can expect. And you don't actually agree with me on some of this stuff. So this is worth digging into.
And there's it was just really juicy. Like, this was suddenly the veil of obscurity that had been shielding us from much of what specifically, like, numbers, revenue, corporate structure, all this stuff that we've wondered about Daybreak. Now we just outright knew it, because when you sell a company, it kind of gets right out there in the open. And also, we're dealing with that information and the fact that Daybreak did in fact get sold, and what's going to happen with its future. How's it going to be handled? You know, all these questions we don't really know.
Right.
So suddenly we're scrambling to look at what EG7's about, why they might have bought this company, and it was a big week, and everybody's discussing it in the comments. About half of those comments are like people just dumping on Daybreak, but half of them were really good, analysis, and people, everybody bringing their backseat legal expertise to bear. So it was, okay. So what do you want to talk about here?
Well, first let's talk Standing Stone. I feel like this is probably the biggest reveal out of all of it.
Yeah,
even more than the numbers.
We have long suspected, ever since 2016 happened and Standing Stone kind of broke off from Turbine. Although rumor was, and this from the studio, they stayed in the same office space. They just kind of like probably swapped out signs on their cubicles. That back in 2016, they went into a publishing deal with Daybreak, and there was some sort of, like, Daybreak's going to publish us now. But we asked them specifically in interviews, what's this relationship like? Is there ownership here? And they ducked it. They said that's a legal thing. We're not allowed to talk about.
When they won't answer a question like that, they basically have answered the question. You know what I mean?
So we've known, but we have never had official confirmation.
Right.
Now we've got it.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because back when they originally announced this, they really made it look like a publishing deal. They were like bending over backwards to make it seem like they were not owned. And that's, I think, why people just assumed and took that at face value, and we didn't start getting suspicious until later, and people were digging up like the corporate records and saying, okay, well, there's like, Daybreak attorney is on this document. I'm not really sure they should be there if they're their own, separate independent studio like they were said to be. So that's kind of frustrating. I feel like we were definitely misled there. Unfortunately, Daybreak has done a lot of misleading over the last couple of years, so not a surprise that Daybreak would do this, a surprise that SSG's people went along with it, but I guess, they like having jobs. So there you go. It's nice to have it out in the open. It's good to know, like, who's really responsible when it comes to Lotro and GDO, because we saw so much go wrong with those games this summer, from, bad miscommunications, the server rollback for DDO, the outages for Lotro, and then the whole mini expansion thing. Oh my goodness, mini expansion. It's not an expansion, it's a paid patch. And Lotro did that, and we were like, well, who, I guess we blame the people in charge. Is it Ciccolini? Okay, I guess we blame him. But as it turns out, it's Jack Emmert. He's technically, on paper, the person at the top, the CEO of Standing Stone, along with Dimensional Inc., which is the DCUO sub-studio. So right. It's Emmert's fault. Whatever is going on inside of SSG is ultimately the buck stops with him. So that's new. We did not know that at all. I hadn't even guessed that.
Yeah, ever since Mordor, the expansion came out a few years ago, and they had the same pricing structure as all of EverQuest and EverQuest 2's games, especially that super expensive edition, and the same like the whole template was just up and lifted. And we went, oh, yeah, that's like Daybreak's calling a lot more of the shots here than we thought. Mm-hmm. And definitely that's what's been going on. And Daybreak or Standing Stone just couldn't, maybe they really were hamstrung from talking about it. Maybe they just didn't want to, they figured, well, if we're going to upset somebody, we'd rather upset people who are left in the dark rather than our bosses. So we don't, we're the small fry down here.
And the end of the year awards will richly reward them for this decision.
Yeah.
Smiley face.
So it's nice to get this information, but it's not like it was given to us freely and willingly out of Daybreak and Standing Stone's altruistic natures. They kind of had to. But, I think it was also really fascinating to read hard numbers on player populations, on revenues, because this is just not stuff we typically get with most MMOs.
I don't think I hate to say never, because I don't really remember whether we ever saw these numbers in like 2004 under SOE. I really don't remember. But in the 10, almost 11 years I've been doing this, I don't remember ever getting numbers like this out of Daybreak. Not once. Or
you
SOE
put numbers in front of Bree, and she is the happiest
I like
chicken in the coop. She's just strutting around.
It's true. And that's huge, because now we have a better understanding of what Daybreak has been up to. I mean, there's been this perception that a lot of these games are failing, that they suck, that they aren't getting money reinvested into them because they're bad or because they don't have enough developers or enough players or enough subs. And as it turns out, they're all fine. They're all doing really well, and it kind of blew us all away. I don't think we were expecting
that. With the one sort of weird exception of whatever's going on with H1Z1.
Yes. Now that's something Greater Divinity asked us about, and you're right. We don't actually know what's happening with H1Z1. They had an investor agreement with NantG, which was that company from, he's a licensed physician in California, and he owned like a sports team and I don't even remember. He owned a bunch of stuff, and he had invested a bunch of money into it. And he was supposed to have bought the console version, and he was going to be making a bunch of mobile games based on the IPs at Daybreak, and he was going to build a sports arena. Oh, I remember. He's the paper guy. He owns what's the name of that paper? I've forgotten what it's called. It's the big LA paper. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with that, because H1Z1 has gone back and forth over the last couple of years. They had financial scandals. Obviously, there's no arena. Obviously, there are no mobile games, at least that we know of. And Just Survive is now completely canceled. It's gone. And the PC version of H1Z1 is like practically in maintenance mode. They forget it's alive. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know why EG7 didn't report any statistics for that. They did mention they own the IP. They implied it anyway, but they didn't actually report on the game. I don't know if that's because it sucks so bad they feel like they don't have to, or because they don't actually own it. Like maybe they have the licensing, they like license it out to NantG. I don't know what's going on with it. The other thing that's related to that is Cold Iron Studios. Daybreak bought Cold Iron like I don't know earlier this year, and that's the Craig Zinkiewicz company. He was an old Cryptic guy, and they were working on the Alien MMO, which is apparently not really an MMO anymore. It's more like a shooter. Which, okay, that's kind of cool. I guess they got that too. It doesn't specifically say that they have the Alien IP, though. In the section where EG7 is talking about all the IPs they have, Alien isn't actually mentioned. So I don't know what's going on there. It made sense that they had pulled in some Cryptic people, that they had bought up this studio, or 40 people who were supposedly originally working on this, because of Emmert's connection, to Cryptic. These people get around. They know each other. That made sense. What doesn't make sense is why it wasn't mentioned as one of Daybreak's assets. So that's kind of weird. Those are still like two big question marks on this document. But we got a lot of other blanks filled in, right, with the actual games that they did talk about, which is awesome.
I have some reactions, some surprises.
Some reactions, okay.
Yeah, so going through this, reaction number one. Oh my goodness, DCUO is way bigger than I even thought. And we've talked about this a lot on the podcast.
We knew it was big, didn't know how big.
That's huge. It was big.
It's almost 500,000 players. Well. Monthly actives, I should say, not just players, not just, people who ever logged in. I mean monthly actives. That's huge.
Yeah. But from our perspective, from covering it for Massively OP, it doesn't get a huge amount of discussion or hits. It's just kind of there. It's one of those titles that, you like it or you hate it, but it doesn't seem to be a conversation generator.
Right.
And
we cover it out of a sense of duty and not because we know it will get clicks.
And the concept art is pretty sweet when they post.
Is. Absolutely.
So it's really nice to.
Yeah, it's a lot of those games that come to console and blow up on console have that effect. Like those console folks, if they had a PC to browse blogs on, they would be playing it on PC and not on their console. So there's not a whole lot of crossover there. That's okay. I'm not complaining. That's just the way it ends up working out. What else? What else did you see?
Okay, completely surprised that EverQuest 1 is 2.5 times
more
populated than EverQuest
absolutely.
2. I understand it's been out longer, but I really thought by now EverQuest 2 would have by far eclipsed it because of just, it's more of a WoW clone than EverQuest 1 ever was. But yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not like either one of them are doing gangbusters, nor are they piddly sticks, but that's a pretty significant gap between the two.
Yeah. And then Cora, sorry. Child alert.
See, this
should have been in the baby cage.
Upstairs.
Show. Go upstairs. You know what? I'll just take her up. I think the important thing. One sec. I think the important thing here is that the subscriber numbers are through the roof on both games.
Yeah, I'll talk about that while you go.
No, I've got my hands, so we're good.
Okay. Yeah, so EverQuest 1, 21,000 subscribers. EverQuest, sorry, that was EverQuest 2. EverQuest 1 has 66,000.
So it's like 3/4 of EverQuest's player base is actually paying them a monthly fee, or maybe like what do you call it?
That's a really good
all access
ratio
pass thing. It's huge. I don't think people understand how freaking huge that is. That does not happen. You're really lucky to get 10-20%. I think what we're seeing from DCUO, more realistic. That's more what I would expect out of a free-to-play game.
Yeah, well, DCUO is like 10%.
Yeah.
That's really, but this is that is massive. Almost EverQuest 2, it's almost
mic off.
It's only 8,000 between the two. So that's, and then you go over into Standing Stone games, it's like half. It's roughly, a little less than half for both DDO and Lotro between the people playing it every month and people who are members or subscribers.
Right.
So for all of these games which have free to play option, that's that's good turnover. Or good loyalty over the long haul.
Yeah, we should go to chat because people are making really good points. Hikari pointed out that when EverQuest 2 came out, obviously it was like a couple weeks before WoW came out back in 2004.
Got steamrolled.
Right. I mean, like, I think I had one guildie who played it, and it was kind of like, yeah, see you guys in WoW. Like, even he didn't stay in it, he ended up in WoW anyway. So that's kind of unfortunate. It doesn't have that, like, core original player base. Like EverQuest 1, a lot of people never left that game. And I think that's what GD was basically saying, was that, yes, they've converted 2/3 of the player base, but it's more like the original 2/3 of the player base that are still subbing. They just never left. So... yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not like they're pulling in new people and keeping them. Like they're just keeping the old people. But you know what? It doesn't really matter that much. They're making the money either way. Broadsword does the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like they have 6 people working there, and then all of these people are subbing for multiple accounts. Why would they panic? The only thing they have to do is not lose them.
This is what studios want to see with MMOs. It's why they invest in these risky titles, is because if they can pull it off and get a title that's really there for the long haul, 16 years later, you still have 21,000 people paying you for EverQuest 2. 21 years later, you still have 66,000 people paying you every month for EverQuest 1. And, like, you've recouped your losses a long time ago. You have a very streamlined team and a streamlined content pipeline. As long as you're feeding them a new expansion every year and some patches here and there and are able to do that, then, you've got a really long tail on these games. And that's always encouraging. Another thing that really surprised me, in a good way, is how well Lord of the Rings Online was doing.
Yeah.
108,000 users, 41,000 members. First of all, I would have said it was somewhere in that vicinity of 100,000. I think I made that point. I think I have always kind of assumed
high.
It was.
I'm glad it's high.
Yeah, somewhere between 75,000, 125. So that was kind of right there in the middle of what I would have guessed if you put a gun to my head.
Do not do that.
No, but so it's not like the biggest game ever. But anytime an MMO is over 100,000. Over even 75,000 or 50,000, that's a respectably healthy, small MMO. That's take World of Warcraft out of the picture, and it seems like that 20 years ago that would have been a really decent MMO size, and now this is a game that's been out there. It still
is. It's just not Fortnite. It's just not WoW.
No.
But that's okay. Like we need. I feel like the mid-budget MMO really went through this kind of really low valley for a while there, where if they couldn't make WoW, they were just not even going to bother. It was either going to be a little tiny indie with one guy working on it, right? Or it was going to be WoW or the next WoW. We need to get back to this. I'm so glad to see that these mid-budget MMOs are actually doing okay even in 2020. I don't think it's just because of 2020. I think they're clearly doing okay in general. Yeah.
Was really surprised to see PlanetSide 2.
PlanetSide, it doesn't surprise me to... No, that's not fair. It surprised me to see it as high as it is. It doesn't surprise me to see it doing well, because they put a lot into it this year. I even nominated it for stuff on our awards this year, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but they did. The Colossus patch was a really big deal. So it shouldn't surprise us that they're doing okay. They're doing better than okay.
Maybe it's because my eyes just kind of slide off of PlanetSide 2 anytime I look at it. Okay.
Well, the other thing is Daybreak doesn't care. Daybreak doesn't do any outreach for people who are not like their talent or their fanboys. So that's part of it too. They're not doing outreach to the vast majority of press or anybody who's ever said boo to them. So
now, one other thing to really note out of the 6 titles that we're talking about here is that out of them, 4 are PC only. PlanetSide 2 has a PS4 version as well as a PC, but DCOO, which is by far and away their best, most populated and highest grossing title, is the one that's on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. So it's that kind of underscores this point we've been making for a while now, that getting MMOs onto multiple platforms is usually a very good prospect for the game.
Essential.
If you can pull it off.
So yeah, like even things like Skyforge, which we're going to talk about later, every game that can get on there, Neverwinter, Star Trek, Elder Scrolls, they're pushing their way to console for a good reason. It's not just because it's the trendy thing to do. It's because it increases their player base just by leaps and bounds.
WildStar would have done so well in console.
Oh, you're not wrong. Yeah, Guild Wars 2, wow. Imagine how much better all of these games would be doing. if they were on console. It's not even close. But
Any-
so maybe Lotro coming to console wouldn't be such a bad idea. And this is the thing I think we disagree on.
No, not that I disagree that it would be bad. I just
You don't think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen. I saw your little editorial chain. Don't think I didn't see
I
that.
saw that. Yeah, so the EG7 slide specifically talks about Lotro and says they're planning visual and technical updates for Lotro for PC and next-gen consoles to capitalize on Amazon's highly publicized large investment, $500 million, in the Lord of the Rings TV series. And a lot of people in the comments were like, that is never going to happen. They're talking out their butts so that they can make it look good for investors. And maybe you're right. But
This is such a fascinating quote. And I remember the day we were kind of picking through all these slides. I went, Bree, this quote.
You found it. Yes, you're the one who found it.
Lotro on console. What? No. Did I misread this? What? No. There's so much to really dig out of this one little blurb, because obviously they didn't go into any further detail whatsoever.
Right.
I would say no matter what, getting a visual upgrade to the game, investing more in the look and especially the performance. Lord of the Rings Online and DDO, which come from the same base game, but their code bases have wildly differentiated since then. Both of them have performance issues, and it definitely they could benefit from getting upgrade from the code side of things. But at the same time, this tantalizing notion of what if they could bring it to console? And I can sort of see this reasoning now that we know the Amazon Lotro MMO that they've been working on it's still years off. I think that was a recent news piece. And the fact that Amazon is coming out with Lord of the Rings is going to be bubbling back up into our public consciousness more because of Amazon. So yes, it's a smart thing. Capitalize on that. You've got an MMO that's at least based on this IP. It's been out there a while, has a bit of content. Could it go to console? I'm not saying it would be a bad thing if it came to console. I'm just trying to even figure out the control scheme.
Now that is actually the best example of why I think you might be right. It's actually mapping a really complicated MMO, but other games have done it. It's not like Neverwinter. It's not like RuneScape. It's not like they're not complicated. You just have to start it over.
But Neverwinter has a limited number of input commands.
True.
So you would have to redesign Lotro in some fundamental way to say, hey, you guys can only have now 8 skills on your hotbars, whereas I have 4 full hotbars that are chock full of skills and different items. Or you have some sort of radial command menus to pull up obscure skills, and you just only slot a certain number to you map into your game.
Well, maybe it's not that they're going to do Lotro at all. Maybe they're just going to take what they've got in Lotro and turn it into some sort of standalone console product. I'm half serious. The reason I say this is because I don't think that EG7 bought Daybreak to hollow it out the way Daybreak's past owners bought it to pretty much hollow it out. I mean, that's what we saw. The money that was being made, apparently, over the last 5.5, almost 6 years now, was not being reinvested into these games in any appreciable sense, right? Because otherwise we would have seen them exploding. And instead, like Connor from MMO Fallout said, they've been behaving like they're about to go bankrupt, right? They've canceled. Yeah. They've canceled so many games. They've sunsetted stuff. They've canceled not just games that that were actually live, but games that they were working on, including the Marvel game we haven't even mentioned yet. I don't think that EG7 is doing that. They seem like they're in growth mode. They're buying stuff to make more money. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that is, looking at their portfolio now, which is half Daybreak and all of these games that are doing pretty well, it's reinvesting in old school players who are actually putting down the money, and it's reinvesting in console. And so Lotro is the perfect combination of both of those things. I would really like to see them do something with it. And not just milk it, continuing into the Silmarillion or whatever they were planning on doing past the end of, Sailing West.
Well, overall, this whole sale I feel very happy about. I think Daybreak was stagnating. There wasn't much hope for a future. They'd been kind of making a lot of noise about, we're going to get EverQuest 3 going at some point. but it never really, like it still hasn't popped its
Right.
head back. And so seeing a future for Daybreak was very bleak. And now it's like, well, now you've got
Now I feel
somebody
like they're
really
a player.
motivated behind
Yeah,
you. And
I do too. And yeah, I mean, people have pointing out, Spanagiata's pointing out that this same company just bought Piranha Games, which does MechWarrior Online, for like pennies on the dollar. It was like next to
well,
nothing.
yeah,
It was
it's Mech Warrior Online.
right, and then everybody else is like, I'm sorry, MechWarrior Online was still online, and I mean, they've practically abandoned it. We've spent the last
Hated
couple
doing
of
those
years.
posts.
We spent the last couple of years, covering how grumpy the player base was. The game was really not doing well. They had all but, shoved it off to the side so that they could work on this a single player standalone. Well, it's not single player, but you know what I mean. It wasn't an MMO. What is it called? Brain fart. Can't remember what it's called. The standalone Mercenaries game. You know the one I'm talking about. The Mech Warrior, Anyway, doesn't matter. They were working on that. They were working on DLC for that. So I was actually surprised they paid that much for Piranha, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm not super surprised to see Daybreak going for, a third of a bill. It really doesn't surprise me that much. Seeing that portfolio,
Yeah.
I can buy that.
And getting all these, unannounced projects that they're working on, all their assets, all that, all their talent behind them. It's a good deal. It's I really hope and wish the best for them. I'm excited to see what's going to come in 2021. Obviously my interest is more toward the Lotro DDO side of things, but I've always felt bad because back in Sony days of SOE, that this was the MMO company. They had all the MMOs. They were so excited to bring any MMO under, and then slowly we've been seeing this attrition, this how many kids sitting on a log, and then one gets knocked off, and one by one, now we're down to 4 Daybreak titles and 2 SSG titles. And it's like, oh no, I want to see it expand again. That would be.
And we do know they're working on stuff.
Yes.
It's just they didn't really talk about it that much in this document. They said they were working on one game. We're pretty sure it's more than that. We know Emmert's working on something. He's come out and said so in interviews. No surprise. I know they've been working on a new EverQuest project for a long time, and I'm pretty sure they've restarted it a few times. So we know something is going on over there. All the people working on those games are not sitting around all year twiddling their thumbs in between expansions. So we know they have some stuff coming. I'm excited for just the same reason. I would really like to see Daybreak go back to being the kind of, like I said last night, the kind of studio that wins Best Studio of the Year 4 years in a row like it once did. That was a legacy. It was really a shame to watch it go down the toilet.
Yes. Well, we should probably move on. I
know.
Yeah, but obviously there's a lot to talk about. Check out our news pieces. They're giant, big, chunky news. You can even read the original investors report or all to yourself. So yeah, let's move on and talk a little bit about Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is receiving a new update this week, game update 6.2. Kind of a mid-size update, but for Star Wars players who have been really starved for
this
anything
has not
new.
Been their year, yeah.
it's been a kind of a thin year. It's been lackluster. So they're getting update 6.2. Comes with a new dungeon, or what they call Flashpoint. There's going to be a storyline, and then some quality of life items such as login rewards. Honestly, not that excited about them. And I'm Mr. Login Rewards, and I looked at this and went, one of these months it's going to be all about PvP rewards. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But an emote window, and I hear role players everywhere rejoicing because after their campaign to let their characters sit in chairs in this game has finally come to fruition, getting an emote window is always pretty useful. But yeah, it doesn't seem like anything's like knock you off your socks. Amazing.
No, and I was kind of hoping that we would get something big this week because are we going to touch on the BioWare news? It's not really.
If you want to,
MMO.
I didn't think that was so lightly touching on MMOs that I didn't think it really.
They lost 2 big names from the BioWare studio, including the guy who's been swearing that Anthem is fine and they're saving it. So I was kind of hoping that they would, if they really are giving up on Anthem, or if they really are having a kind of studio switcheroo where they're moving people around, that they would put some people back on Star Wars Tour so we could get some real solid updates here, because it is so crazy to me that stuff like The Mandalorian is like consuming everyone's waking moment, and Star Wars Tours, like their attempts at capitalizing have been really minimal.
I've
compared to what I
count.
expected.
Lost count of the number of Baby Yoda things I've seen in stores.
Yeah, they're sold out on Amazon. I tried to buy one for my kids for Christmas, and they're like all sold out. All the good ones anyway. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and this isn't even new. Like
balm,
this is an old thing. This isn't a new thing. Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know Star Wars Tour has done stuff. I would have just expected more. I just think that they're really short-staffed. We heard all kinds of rumors that a lot of people had been pulled off of it to try to save Anthem. So I was kind of hoping we could pull some of those people back and save Star Wars Tour. That would be really great. But that's, of course, the game I care about. So.
And they did. Well, they did get not a new developer, but they got a new
CM.
CM this past week, so that's something. Because promoting the game, interfacing between the game, the developers, and the community is really important. And people who are feeling neglected need to have that extra reassurance. So I'm glad that they got who was it, Geeky Fried Rice, Jackie there.
Yep,
joining the team.
Hey, we should dive into chat here because we've missed a bunch of stuff because we're like talking and stuff. I don't even know.
Yes, I know my voice is echoey. It's not my fault. It'll sound normal on the regular podcast. Yep. I don't.
Yeah, Panic Gaddis is pointing out that they added the Mandalorian flashpoints. Like, yes, I know. I expected to see like full on, crazy integration, and it seems really minimal. I would have expected more. But he did say that there are a lot more people playing, or at least it feels like there's more people playing. So that doesn't really surprise me. It's just that BioWare just never seems all that interested in keeping them, and it's just frustrating. Maybe this is also one of those surprise things where the game is doing much better than we think it is, and since we never get numbers, we'll never know. But
Onslaught was also such a sad little expansion release.
Yeah, or the Feast of, what was it, Feast of Prosperity?
Mm-hmm, that was the big thing this year.
I mean, they can do so much better. We've seen them do much better. Let's see, who else? Somebody asked us, I can't find it now. Somebody asked us if we were going to talk about Red Dead Online. No, we're not going to talk about Red Dead Online. But yes, this is, you know what, we could just do that real fast. The Red Dead Online, it became a standalone game last week. It's now $5. So if you didn't really want to shell out for all of Red Dead Redemption 2, now you can go play Yeehaw Skyrim for $5.
Thanks for making me rearrange my show notes right there.
You don't have to actually put it in the show notes, but we're not going to really talk about it. I don't play it, and Rockstar is kind of a clown show, so I'm just not. But we have Ben, and Ben has played both Red Dead Redemption 2, and he just did a big piece on Red Dead Online literally last week, and why he thought the single player game was just way better than the MMO, even though he's an MMO player. So go read those. You'll get a lot out of them, I think. He was very fair.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Gosh, you should do this podcast thing more often. I mean, you're pretty good at this.
Yeah, once in a while. I'll come back in another 300 episodes.
Yeah, okay. We'll bring you on as a guest.
World of Warcraft Classic completely getting overshadowed by Shadowlands release, but it's been a big month there for WoW Classic because they're finally wrapping up all of the the content, the parceling of the content rollout that Blizzard set into action a year and a half ago, and finally they got the last of Phase 6 here with the release of Naxxramas raid, one of the best raids ever, at least from my perspective of soloing, which it's the only time I've ever done.
I was going to say at this point, most people have only ever experienced Naxx from soloing, that's a weird way to run your game, but okay, you do you. Okay, Blizzard.
Yeah. I've got to say, architecturally, like the design of it, how they managed to do these it's well done. It's really interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see if, unlike the first time around when Naxxramas completely got it almost ignored because Burning Crusade was like 2 months away.
Heels, right.
Most people just said, well, we're not going to go through the rating cycle.
And that was with the delay, because Burning Crusade also got delayed, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're at the end now. This is it. So where's our Burning Crusade Classic, people?
Unless Blizzard announces what they're going to be doing with Classic, this is kind of the ultimate part of the vanilla experience and what a lot of people have been gearing up for, and I'm sure they're just blitzing through like crazy. So
I'm actually really curious. I wish. So here's an example of where I want stats, where I wish I could have the metrics on everything. But since I can't have them, I'll wish for just these. I wish Blizzard would stop doing that thing it does every quarterly investor call where they're like, well, the classic player base and the regular retail player base are really one and the same, and we offer this blah, 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 blah. No, I want to know exactly how many people are logging into each one every single month, because that is fascinating to me. I want to know, like, are people actually saying, yep, that Shadowlands, that was fun for like 2 weeks. Let's go do something else. Let's go raid Nax again. Like it's 2007. You know what I mean? Was it 2007? Oh my gosh, we're old.
Yep.
I wonder how many people are actually going to stop playing Shadowlands to come play this. Or will they come back to Shadowlands once they've beaten it? Once they've geared up in it?
You got your subscription. It's not like you have to feel pressured one way or the other.
It's not really the pressure of the subscription, I don't think, that drives anybody playing WoW. Maybe I'm wrong. I would say it's more like the pressure of the players. Like, you're not going to Nax without your big, giant raid group.
Yeah.
So you're going to be at the mercy of those huge guilds, and I just wonder, are they doing this right now? Or are they like, no, screw you guys, we're busy over here having fun in Revendreth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think they've been planning, and I mean, because they've known this is coming for a long time. We've seen not just like hearsay. We know for a fact that players in WoW Classic have been going through the content, going through dungeons and raids way faster and way more efficiently than they did back in vanilla, because people know this game inside and out now. They have every stat they ever need. They know how to like manipulate world boss buffs to enable them to like blitz through raids like nobody's business. So right. Yeah, they've been prepared, and they know exactly every step by step how they're going to do this. So yeah, I would say there's probably been many guilds like that have just been on the verge of it and organized and waiting for it. So.
Here's from chat. Need More Loot says, I got the impression the core and classic divide is more intense than just people bouncing you back. So, like, I guess maybe that's it. Maybe the reason Blizzard doesn't feel like it can possibly lose anything by releasing these things back to back is that they already know from their internal metrics there's not that much overlap. At least not anymore. Not for end game classic content. Maybe they figure one way or another they get to keep everybody.
But as you said, impressions are all we really have.
Right. It's frustrating. Give us the numbers. I want everything in spreadsheets. Tell us the price of butter.
Yeah, if Blizzard could get sold, then we'd find out some information there.
They've only released less and less and less info.
Yeah. By
the year, unfortunately. And because you know what? Investors don't really seem to care. As long as they can justify saying things like engagement, then everybody's fine. And they just keep dumping money on Bobby Kotick, right? But I want to know the numbers.
I want to see Bobby Kotick swimming around in his Scrooge McDuck money vault. Just one. Diving in and out. Well, we should also probably mention, as we briefly did before, Skyforge coming to the Switch, but it did get a bit of a delay here. It's one of the major MMO launches that the Switch doesn't have as many MMOs right now. It really
doesn't. What are we? We've got DCUO.
I did a list on it, and people
you did. I've already forgotten all of the games that you mentioned.
It's like 4 of them.
Because it's not like I have a Switch. Oh wait, yes, I have a Switch. I love my Switch, but I don't play MMOs on my Switch. I play MMOs on my computer. I forget. It's just not that many.
DCUO is like the big one.
Yeah.
So Skyforge was going to be a pretty significant MMO release there. Going to have to wait till February for that to happen, but that's not too long away. So you can do something else between then and now.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. I mean, so much stuff got delayed this year. At this point, another delay is like, yeah, we get it, we understand, but still, it would have been nice to see it come out before Christmas.
For Cyberpunk to delay. Again? I just want to watch
for like the fifth time.
Erupt in tears. I'm not ordering it. I'm not playing it right now because I have so much other stuff to play.
Let's talk about this stuff that they're saying in chat. If WoW came to console, Panda says, it would be like printing money for Blizzard. Oh, Why have they not put WoW on console? What the heck?
But they're trying to put Diablo on phones, so that's sort of...
I think they made that joke earlier, too.
Oh, okay.
No, I truly don't understand. Maybe that's their next move. We know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. when the investor call happened. We know they're working on something. They dropped some really heavy duty hints that they're working on something new, not just WoW Classic, the Burning Crusade version, that they're working on something a little different for the Warcraft franchise. So maybe that's what they meant. I just, you're right. I don't understand why they don't do it. They like money. This seems like a relatively, I don't want to say easy, but a relatively painless and inexpensive way of making a tremendous pile of money, right? It seems like it wouldn't require an incredible investment. You're not talking about building a whole other game from scratch, or, spending 7 years trying to make 10 different games and only actually publishing one of them, which is often what Blizzard's, MO is. So
let me posit a possibility here.
What do you think?
Maybe they were really waiting to get the 9.0 patch and this whole leveling revamp done in the game. So now that they have a more streamlined package, that was one step on
2 years to
console.
coast. Yeah, well, and then they've got the BlizzCon line is coming.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I did. I forget. It's January or February. It's like right at the beginning of the year. Yes. I've already forgotten what month. Okay, so that's coming. They're going to announce something, but I think it's going to be Burning Crusade, which is, I don't know, not as exciting as console. Console would be huge. Come on, Skyforge is going to be on console. I know WoW can do this.
Yeah.
Skyforge is already on console. Forget that. It's going to be on the Switch. We're just asking you to get to, next-gen Xbox and PlayStation. All right.
I think it's going to be a very interesting year next year, especially because all the things that got delayed plus everything that was in the pipeline. It's got to be. It's absolutely just got to be a bigger year because this was such a
it was pretty wimpy.
Scant year for releases.
We got a lot
expansion.
coming. We've got New World is coming. LEN is about to hit the Korean servers, which means it'll probably be up here for next year.
I have a whole list.
End of Dragons, the Final Fantasy one, Forspoken, whatever it's called. Yeah, whatever the Elder Scrolls Online chapter and DLC and season arc is going to be. There's a lot of stuff coming next year, but that stuff didn't get delayed because of 2020. Some of it did. New World did. Okay. But New World also got delayed because it needed a do-over, another do-over.
Did you say Crimson Desert?
Crimson Desert, is that actually launching next year? I don't think it is. I thought it was coming to beta next year, launched next year.
Some sort is significant.
Either way, there's lots of stuff coming, and that's really great. We could really use it. We could use some wins. This year has sucked across the board, right? It's not even just MMOs. Gaming has been kind of in a rut. So I'm excited. I have high hopes. Don't let me down, 2021.
My biggest hope, Book of Travels, baby.
Aw, don't make fun. Book of Travels looks adorable. I want that game. I backed that game. I think it's cute.
You saw my post this morning.
Yeah.
I'm all excited about it.
We need more stuff like that. You know what? The video ended. I'm going to turn it back to the beginning and make you guys watch me
rewind
suck
the
at Guild
clock.
Wars 2 again.
Well, before I don't even think we're going to have time for mail today, but before we close out.
Oh, no, really? How long did we talk?
We talked.
Oh, let's do one mail.
All right, but before we do mail, let's at least drum up what's going on with the end of the year. What's going on with December for Master PvP?
Oh my goodness. Okay, guys. So this past weekend, part of the reason I didn't play 24/7, even though I'm a bundle of nerves, because we're supposed to be closing on the house again next week. Long story there. That's happening. So I spent this whole weekend doing awards, and that means the team spent part of last week doing awards because they have to do their end of it. Our awards start rolling out on December 10th. 10th? What is Thursday? Whatever the heck Thursday is. That's the first one. We actually added 2 new awards this year. Should I tell them what they are? Can I remember what they are? One of them is Best Character Customization in an MMO. That's going to be a fun one. And then we added the Best Music one, which usually we just let Justin pick one. This year we let the whole team in on it. So those are both new this year. And we didn't take any out. So those are on top of the old ones. Those are all coming. We're doing the same roundup of like our top 10 lists and that kind of things. Those are all coming. It's going to be exciting. And you know what? We didn't even start a fight this year. Not a big fight over any of the awards. Last year there was a huge fight over Best Business Model. I mean, a really big fight.
Over what one?
Best Business Model. Do you remember this?
Vaguely.
Oh my goodness. We went on for like 3 days where we kept trying to find consensus and we couldn't because the one that kept winning had like half of the people like dead set against it and half of the people like mildly for it. So it like had the most votes, but it also had a lot of detractors, like not just one or two, but like a lot. So in the end, we didn't give it to anybody. This year, it just seemed like it came together really well. So
Yeah, it's not, of course, none of us were probably fully happy with the whole
No.
list, but that's what compromise is. That's why we have this whole
Yes.
group think. And yeah, it was a good discussion. I think we got it all hashed out in about an hour.
Now we're.
Well, yeah, that was the bulk of our conversation the other day.
Oh, you mean for I see what
Voting.
you mean. Yeah, so what everybody does is like I run off the list of all of the awards, I send it to everybody. They write down like what they want to nominate for each category.
Bree ignores it, does whatever she wants.
Of course,
Oh,
of
I'm
course.
sorry, go.
I compile all of those and see if there's like anything resembling like, okay, like 10 people just nominated this one game. It seems like the clear winner here. It's clearly got a lot of support, even though it wasn't necessarily everybody's first pick. It was at least like a ton of people's second pick, and that usually kind of bumps things to the top. And some things got like a lot of votes in various categories, but like nothing even resembling like enough to push it to the top of any one thing.
Yeah.
And we actually found a way to honor that game too, because a lot of people thought it was good, but nobody quite nominated it all in like one category. So we ended up figuring out something for that one too. I'm happy about that one. But yeah, and then everything that's like not clear, then we kind of come into a chat room and then fight. So it wasn't that much of a fight, really. Honestly, it was
fought
pretty
about
civil this
housing for a
year.
while.
I'm not sure Game of the Year came out the way a couple people wanted, but
No.
that's the way the chips falls sometimes. The chips falls? That's not how grammars works. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited to see what you guys think. A couple of the awards are like fake outs because they're going to get something like early and you're like, oh no, that means it's not going to get something later. And that's just not how it works. So don't panic. That's always
And
fun.
we're not going to spoil what all these are for you right now, but we probably will at a later date have kind of a
Yes,
group
we'll
discussion.
do a round
of their
table.
work.
Probably not live because
Oh no.
like it's stressful enough just being live ourselves.
I have flop sweat right now because my kids just came home, so I'm like, oh no, don't come in here, don't come in here.
All right, well, do you want to do one of these?
All right, go ahead.
All right, Zapicus says, if you had to choose between staying true to your character's background and personality versus maximizing gameplay advantages, which do you choose? I'm not a huge role player, but I enjoy creating backstories for my characters. However, I also try to keep up with gameplay meta. This is causing problems for me in WoW Shadowlands, where the community considers certain covenants best in slot for a given class. I feel pressured to have my brooding Death Knight join the nature-loving Night Fae to unlock the best skills. I ran into a similar problem in Star Wars 2 where I gimped my Grey Jedi. I didn't go all light or dark side and was unable to unlock the best trinkets. I know I should choose fun over min-maxing, but I also don't want to let my raid team down. Would love your advice. Ugh, I hate this question. I mean, I like this question, but I hate it because it's hard.
It is hard because it also depends on where you're coming from as a player. If you are, as he is, part of a raid team, then
I know.
that really changes.
You got to put them ahead of you in some cases, because otherwise, well, that's what teamwork is all about, right?
Right, because you can't, like in this case, with the covenants, you can't have multiple, like different builds that you can easily swap between. You've got to pick one and kind of stick with it. I mean, for me, it's usually just whatever. I don't care about the meta. I just whatever feels good, like, yeah, hey, that skill, that talent looks good, that skill looks good, that's what I want to do. And I might look to others for inspiration, but I'm not going to really let them, like, I've never min-maxed. I don't really care about it. The only time I go to build suggestions are when my character is lagging
And you're having trouble
behind
with it, yeah.
for so much that I'm obviously doing something really wrong and I need some help. And usually I'll just take somebody's preset template as like a foundation for what I want to do with it. But at the same time, I'm not like so slavishly pure with my character personality that I can never go against whatever this, because I'm not that much of an internal role player. I have some idea of where my characters are, but usually it's more personality, not so much of skill sets. What about you?
No, pretty much the same. I'll bend on some stuff, and it's like, okay, look, I gotta wear this ugly hat that makes me look like a weird hobo, but it's fine. I'll just, I'll figure it out, or I'll
in
just.
game.
You're so funny. But But like usually it's like, okay, well, if I have to wear this, I'll wear it for the fight. Okay, it's not like this fight is like not just super choreographed and kind of artificial feeling anyway, because it totally is. It just makes sense. So I'll put on the dumb hat, and then when I'm done, I'll take it off if it really bothers me that much. With Covenants, it seems like the idea that there's the best in slot Covenant, like like the faction it's kind of a faction, right? That's what these really are.
Yeah, kind of.
That there's like a preferred faction for rating is like a problem with the game.
Each.
That really bothers me. Like it feels like it's something that needs to be fixed.
Exciting part of this expansion for me, and it's because one, these skills that they're making such a big deal about are purely temporary. They're going to go. So it's like being given a skill during a quest just for that quest. And it's fun for the time being, but it's going away. So you don't really get super attached to it. And I'm going to have that same mental, even though in this case it's 2 years from now, I still, it's like, well, if you're going to introduce these covenants, make such a big deal out of it, have these skills be permanent additions to my tool set, and just move on and stop with this whole here's a fun toy, now I'm taking it away.
Well, that's WoW in a nutshell, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a problem with WoW's philosophy. We were talking about this a bunch in our chat this morning when it comes to WoW, and how philosophies like that they seem like they're really minor things compared to classes and cosmetics and monetization, but at the end of the day the philosophy governs everything in the game. So if it's incompatible with you and your playstyle, it's almost like you probably should find another game that does work for you. But then again, Shadowlands is the new shiny. Of course everybody wants to play that. And the Covenants are cool, so of course everybody wants to play that. I wish Blizzard had listened to people a little bit more clearly ahead of time.
Yeah. It's a fascinating idea to talk about character integrity and kind of having that headcanon for your character and what you want to do with that versus your actual decisions in the game. And especially when you come to those points, like if the game doesn't let me make the decision I want to. I think we talked about this last week in terms of questing.
Yes.
And so I see it kind of a branch off of that discussion.
All right,
so it's interesting.
There's people making good points in the chat. Sexuality said that he often inflicts no travel power on himself for City of Heroes characters where the concept doesn't justify one. And that's like, okay, I've done that before, but a lot of times I'll simply skip a travel power because I want a power. So maybe I am more of a power gamer than a role player at heart. Like I'll skip travel powers because I want to get good powers and stamina and stuff first.
You know what City of Heroes really taught all of us? Delayed gratification. Especially back in the day when you had to sacrifice 3 whole power choices to get stamina. And you're like, I want those sweet, awesome powers, but I gotta have stamina first, so I'm just gonna have to suck it up.
Yep. And now by like level 3, you can have stamina fully slotted. For free.
Yeah, isn't it just like automatic?
But you got to slot it still. You got to actually put the little.
Truly, the newest generation of gamers is suffering so deeply here.
Oh, now I'm being made fun of because of spreadsheets. The thing is like I have spreadsheets for Star Wars Galaxies because otherwise I would be lost. It's not even about power gaming. It's because there's so many fiddly bits, so many resources, so much stuff in the game that I would lose track of what I had, what I needed to do, the math behind it all. I need those spreadsheets to keep organized. It's not even so much about power gaming. City of Heroes, it's more about power gaming because I'm literally playing to maximize or like to minimize the amount of time on each character, but maximize the amount of experience. So I'm using those double experience booster thingies and also only playing in rested exp, and that's how I do it. But I'm still playing the characters. I still have backstories and costumes. So like I know some games will allow you to do both, and that's what I kind of wanting to push, our reader to, our listener to. If you can find an MMO that supports you doing both at the same time, with really good cosmetic system, that's usually one way, and allowing you to make choices on your character that have like not just chat choices, but also, cosmetic choices and roleplay choices. City of Heroes is really good about that. Like you really you're starting from level 1 with exactly the costume you want, like to the particle effect. That's what you get.
You can, of course, depending on your time, you can always have one character that is the raid character that makes all the sacrifices, and one that's just a for
That's
you
true, too.
character. But that's
Yeah.
not everybody has the time or the interest to split between that. So.
I hear ya.
All right, well, that's it for today's show. We want to thank everybody who turned out for us live here to hear all our flubs and weirdness and kids and everything like that.
All the stuff we're not editing out this time.
Nope, dag nabbit. We're just glad you guys hung out with us for an hour, and it was really nice to be able to do this. Thanks, Bree, for she put in a lot of work.
I'm just sad you guys didn't get to see the City of Heroes footage. I was really proud of it. I was picking out just the right characters to show because they have cool effects and everything. But maybe next year, guys. I really hope next year is the year because it's been like a long time of waiting, almost 2 years waiting on this dumb license. So here we go. Anyway.
All right, well, Debbie Downer's over
sorry.
there.
I want to be able to stream it. I want to take the whole crew. I have so much fun streaming with just like the people in the chat and the people with, the people who hang out with MJ, and then our team. They're like, yeah, I'll make a character, and then it's just fun. I just have like a blast doing that, and it annoys me that we can't. Anyway.
Well, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, we're at MassivelyOP. We do have a Patreon program on the right-hand side of the site. And we do also have many other Twitch streams that aren't just us talking into black voids. There's people playing games. You can check those out. All on the right-hand column of the site. If you would like to send us in a podcast email or even a voicemail, as a reminder, we need both of those. We need several of them. We're going to have one, maybe two all-mail shows coming up, and we need a lot in the bank.
We're gonna do those
so we have
over
a
the
link
holiday.
We have a link in the show notes. You can always call 734-221.
That is a real number. That is not a fake.
Cut me off.
I'm sorry. So say it again. Say it again.
734-221-3973. I picked because if you look at the alphanumeric conversions there, it's Kaluchaba, which is easy to remember. So,
no, not that kind of mail. The other mail.
Yeah. Oh, that's it for today's show. We survived our first live stream podcast. Not going to be doing this.
Oh, it's stressful. It really is. But
Stressful.
it's fun to actually hear people.
Because every now and then we do have something major that happens in the middle of a show, or we got to take a huge chunk out.
Yeah, my kid
Having
is
that
screaming,
leeway
or
to be able to do that's pretty important.
WoW just canceled Shadowlands. Did
Yeah,
that happen?
or something like
Did
that
they delay
happens,
it?
or-
Did they delay it in the middle of the stream? Something happened. I don't remember.
I
what
think
it was.
we've had a couple podcasts where you talk about something for 10 minutes and you go, we just need to take that whole thing out because I don't think I can legally say that.
This
We
has
can't
happened
talk
before,
about
yes.
that.
Well, that just means we have to be really careful live to not,
Right.
ruffle any feathers.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you later.
Later,
Hang on.
everybody.